Life can feel unshakably secure until the smallest doubt wedges its way in and unravels everything you thought you knew. That's where my story begins. My name is Samuel Warren, known around town as the man behind the family grocery store, the business my father started from nothing, and the one I've dedicated nearly all my years to keeping alive. My days were predictable, early mornings opening the shop, afternoons filled with ledgers and suppliers, evenings spent quietly at home with my wife, Lorraine. To everyone who knew her, Lorraine was the picture of goodness. Generous, active in the church, deeply faithful, always at the center of every fundraiser, charity drive and prayer circle. People often told me I was blessed to be married to her, and for the longest time, I believed it wholeheartedly. Our relationship had always seemed transparent. Lorraine never hid her phone. I had known her passcode for years. No odd texts or strange calls ever gave me a reason to doubt her. For a long while, our marriage looked solid, rooted in honesty and mutual trust. But something began to shift. It wasn't dramatic at first. It crept in slowly, the way small cracks spread across glass before it finally shatters. Lorraine began spending more time at the church. Where she used to come home before dark, she now stayed out until late, explaining that new events and responsibilities demanded her presence. Her excuses sounded reasonable, even comforting in their calm delivery. Yet somewhere deep inside, I felt a nagging whisper that something didn't add up. At first, I fought the feeling. I told myself I was being unfair, that suspicion had no place in a marriage built on love and shared faith. But the unease kept growing. One night, as I worked through invoices at my desk, Lorraine called to say she would be at the church for hours, cleaning for an upcoming event. Her voice was gentle, steady, reassuring. Yet after I hung up, I couldn't shake the sudden surge of doubt. Without a second thought, I grabbed my keys and drove to the church. The town was quiet under the night sky as I pulled into the lot, my pulse racing. But the building was dark. No lights, no cars, no movement. I circled the grounds, checked the doors. Everything was locked, deserted. I waited in my truck, hoping maybe she would appear, but the silence never broke. That's when the truth began to harden inside me. I didn't say anything to her that night. Lorraine came home later, cheerful and convincing, describing in detail how she and the church ladies had been cleaning and organizing. I listened quietly, but I could see the cracks in her story now. By morning, I knew I couldn't ignore this any longer. I drove into the city and found myself standing at the door of a small office wedged between weathered brick buildings. The sign read, Miles Draper, Private Investigator. Miles was older, calm, and straightforward. I told him everything, the late nights, the empty church, the gut-deep unease I couldn't silence. He listened and promised to begin surveillance immediately. Leaving his office, I felt a strange calm settle over me. At least soon I would know the truth. The days that followed crawled by. I went about my usual routines at the store, smiling at customers, stocking shelves, pretending everything was fine. But every time I looked at Lorraine, her kindness, her prayers, even the meals she set before me felt like a mask she wore. Then came the call. Miles's voice was clipped and steady. Come to my office. It's done. I drove straight there. He slid an envelope across the desk. My hands trembled as I opened it. Inside were photographs, dozens of them. Lorraine, my wife, stepping out of a roadside motel with Daniel Finch. Daniel was no stranger to me. He was well liked in the community, known for volunteering at church and often leading Bible study groups. His wife, Laura, rarely took part in public events. Photo after photo showed them together, arriving, leaving, their closeness undeniable. There was no mistaking what this was. Miles gave me a timeline, dates, times, locations. Every night she told me she was at church. She had been with Daniel instead. I sat there numb, the pictures burning in my hands. What broke me wasn't only the betrayal, but the ease with which she came home afterward, smiling, speaking softly, as though nothing had happened. I thanked Miles, took the envelope, and left. That evening, when Lorraine called saying she'd be at another church meeting, I stayed quiet and simply replied, "That's fine." Then I parked outside and waited. A long silence followed before she stumbled through excuses, suggesting I pick up groceries, or even my favorite dessert. I stayed put. Moments later I saw her slip out, not through the front entrance but through the side alley, moving quickly with her head lowered. She climbed into my truck wordlessly. I drove home without speaking. Halfway there, she tried to spin a story, insisting she'd been handling something personal. I kept my silence. When we pulled into the driveway, I placed the envelope on her lap and told her flatly, "Open it." Her face drained of color as soon as she saw what was inside. She broke down instantly, sobbing, begging, insisting it was a mistake, swearing she loved me. I didn't move. I didn't comfort her. When the clock struck the hour, I gave her one sentence. "You have 1 hour. Pack your things. Leave." Then I walked inside, leaving her in tears. She packed in a daze, dragging her suitcases behind her. I didn't watch her leave. I sat quietly, staring at the clock, detached. But I wasn't finished. I drove to Daniel's home, knocked firmly, and asked to see his wife. Laura appeared, confused. I handed her the envelope and turned away without a word. Later that night, Daniel was thrown out of his own house. No discussions, no second chances. Word spread quickly. Lorraine and Daniel became outcasts in the very community that once celebrated them. The admiration, the friendships, the respect, all of it vanished. They were left to face the wreckage of their choices alone. As for me, I filed for divorce. It was over swiftly. I kept the house, the store, everything. Lorraine tried to reach me afterward, through calls, letters, even showing up at the shop in tears. I ignored them all. When people asked, I never spoke ill of her or of Daniel. I would simply say, "The truth always comes out," and it did. Their affair collapsed under the weight of exposure, leaving them both with nothing. I carried on with my life, steadier and freer than before. In the end, it wasn't the betrayal that defined me, but how I chose to respond, with truth, restraint, and dignity. That was enough to move forward.